Hello everybody, it's KhalifPVP bringing you another Albion video. This time we're going to talk about the new skills released in Percival. I'm just going to give you a brief rundown of what they are and somewhat of my thoughts on them and how I think they're if they're good or bad, and kind of go from there. First up is one of my main skills that I think I'm going to start running a lot more in PvE and maybe a little bit in PvP. Spinning blades on the axis. It surrounds you for 2.5 seconds. Every 0.5 seconds you deal 116 damage, as well as stack a 4% damage increase for 3 seconds and stacks up to 10 times. So each hit that you do, it stacks up. So on a single mob, so right here, let me try to see if I can get that mob right here. On a single mob, you can stack pretty much five times, 5 or 6 times. I think I might have missed a spin. It's not too bad. So 5 or 6 times, you're doing about like 20% damage, right? In a full stack of 10, you're doing about 40% damage. The only thing about this skill is it is very energy intensive. So weapons that are energy intensive, like the halberd, for example, you're really going to be out of mana pretty quickly if you keep spamming it. The cooldown on it is not too bad. With an omelet, it's about 10.38 seconds. I would personally only maybe run this over internal bleeding in PvP if I'm doing like a big clap build, like maybe if I'm running Whirlwind and Spectre Jacket. Otherwise, I still think internal bleeding is a little bit better in PvP. In PvE, definitely hands down, spinning blades, not even a competition. Next up is the Frost Staff. I mistakenly actually made the previous video of this thinking it was a W, but it's actually a Q skill called Ice Shard, and it's actually one of your biggest or strongest Q skills that you have in Frost. It does the most amount of damage. So on a tier 8, for example, your basic Frost Bolt is 347. You got Hoarfrost, which is 410, and then finally you have Ice Shard, which is 555. So you can see a pretty good chunk of damage. Really useful in PvE, especially if you have a lot of, if you have a tank that clumps things together. You are giving up a lot of your kind of CC, so you're giving up that 25% CC that you get on your Frostbolt. But unlike Hoarfrost and the Frostbolt, this one, it is a targeted skill, so you don't need an enemy to target on. So yeah, I'm gonna try and pull it on these two guys here. Let's see. Yep, I'm gonna Q spam him right there. It does have a little bit of a cast, as you can see, so it is easy to kind of avoid it. But overall, it's not bad. Bad skill for the Frost Staff, simply on a PvE aspect. Next up is the Quarterstaffs. Actually, spears rather, not quarterstaffs. And with Impaler, which is a giant spear, comes up through the ground, and then kind of deals a pretty good amount of damage and slows the enemies by 50% for 8 seconds. That 0.4 second delay is like pretty negligible. I'm gonna show it off again. It's almost instantaneous. Like, look, it doesn't even seem like it's a delay here. Next up is swords, what I think is the most strongest skill that was released. Parry Strike for 0.8 seconds. You block all damage and reflect, so it's a true reflect, unlike the Hunter Hood. And at the end of the thing, you deal about 400 damage, as well as a silence for 2 seconds. And that's really, look how strong it is. Let me see if I can pull it off here. I'm gonna try and aggro him. So I'm gonna reflect, takes no damage, and silences them for 3 seconds. That's really strong. So here we go again. Let me see if I can pull all these guys out. I'm gonna try and, there we go, with the silence so they can't do anything, and then hit him with a clap. The cooldown's short enough. It's like only 8 seconds where you can pretty much keep it spammed. So I'm gonna try and pull it off here again. Let's see. Look at that. There's no damage at all. Now we're gonna look at the new healing skill, Rejuvenating Beasts, which just pretty much just spreads your rejuvenating stacks on one target to all allies in range. So I'm gonna Q spam him real quick, and then I'm gonna hit him with the W, and you can see all 3 of us now have those stacks. A little bit about those stacks. Everybody else gets new stacks, meaning it starts off at full duration, whereas whoever you spammed it on, they have whatever duration that they started out with. So everybody else will get it at, so I'm gonna see if I can show it off in this guy. So I'm gonna 3Q spam him real quick, wait till he's about halfway, and then I'll hit him with my W. So he's about halfway, I get full stacks, he still maintains the regular. I'm gonna show off a little unintended consequences here. Wait till this guy's up, and you'll see I can pretty much use these guys as a mana pool. So you'll see in a second. So I'm gonna Q spam him real quick, hit him with the W, meaning all three of us are gonna get it. I'm gonna break his thing, break my thing, break that guy's thing, and I just essentially got 3 stacks of 32 mana back immediately. So this is what I was talking about. While that skill was really strong, because it spreads its rejuvenation. Rejuvenation has a secondary effect where if you cast it on somebody that already has 3 stacks, you consume them and you get 32 energy back, and that, I think that energy is dependent on your tier. Before, it was really hard to maintain 3 stacks on people, so I'm gonna try and 3 stack him real quick, 3 stack him real quick, and then 3 stack myself. And like you see, like it's a lot of work to maintain these 3 stacks, right? And kind of go through. Whereas this one, you can just literally spam, hit him with the W, and then now everybody has 3 stacks. All I had to do is now just go back and just kind of cycle through them. Next, we're gonna look at the Quarterstaff's new skill, Rising Blow. It's pretty much a mini version of Tornado from your Soul Scythe. So let's go use it here. It just lifts them up, pretty much similar to Soul Scythe here. You see the only difference being Soul Scythe obviously it lasts a lot longer. I really like it because before, in your W slot for Quarterstaffs, you really didn't have much of AoE crowd control. Like, right, you had a Q that was Cartwheel, which was quote unquote AoE crowd control. You had the E for many of the Quarterstaffs. Let's see here, the Quarterstaffs are right here, which was AoE. For example, Double Bladed had Crescent Slash, Soul Scythe obviously had Tornado, you had the Quarterstaff with its AoE. Everything was AoE except for the W. The new W pretty much gives you a nice little mini Tornado and mini AoE CC skill for you to use. I think you're gonna see this skill pretty much a lot more in 5v5 and ZVZs. It's at this point in time, I think it will be the go-to skill because of its nice little AoE crowd control. In small scale ganking, I still think Stun Run is much better because you do get that speed increase and a lot longer stun. So you'll probably kind of go towards that versus the Rising Blow. And finally is Inertia Ring with the hammers rather. All it is it's kind of it's pretty large, but that yellow section, that's where the slow duration comes. So what it is Inertia Ring. Anytime an enemy moves in and out of that ring, their movement speed is reduced by 90% and it ignores crowd control resistances. So it's pretty much a guaranteed slow. But as I mentioned, it only impacts that yellow part. So I'm going to try and pull it off here on these guys. So as they come through that yellow, they're going to be, and then as they go, kind of pass through it, then they can move at regular speed.